Well, we're already to the point in 2025 where I don't know what to say when I start the show because what a weird ass game. Just all around just a atrociously weird game in every facet of it. We have holidays, double play. Umps don't know what the hell's going on. Uh, we, I don't know. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. Orioles lose 4-3, drop to 5-7 on the year. And Joe, yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I was looking around. I can't find where one of them is right now, so I just picked up. I had an Iron Rooster hat in here from one of the things, so I just put that on. O's lose 4-3. Team does not look great. Charlie Morton with one of the weirdest starts you're gonna see. Just never felt like he was in control, but at the same time, he kept him in it the entire time until the end. And even after that, he still ends up keeping the Orioles somewhat competitive in this ball game. Just a weird game from start to finish. Morton ends up 5 innings pitched, 4 hits, 4 runs, 5 walks, which is really just the killer for him. Why is Morton our 2 starter? Don't know. I don't think he's the second most talented. I think Sagano probably is the next guy after Eflin. But now, great news. Eflin, low-grade lat strain. So he's going to be shut down for at least a week. Just some incredible news after incredible news after incredible news tonight. That was a demoralizing, just gut-punching loss because it felt like every time the Orioles creep their way back in, they got bases loaded, Holiday up, then you have the weirdest play of all time. Then in the 8th, you get Adley single, then Jorge pinch runs, steals second, steals third. You're like, okay, they got something going on. Mountcastle just has to put it in play anywhere but the pitcher. That doesn't happen. Going on contact, Mateo thrown out at home. It just felt like any time like the Diamondbacks get the double that would have probably scored a run, ground rule double, you're like, awesome. The baseball gods gave us a mulligan. Naylor coming up, I wouldn't have pitched to him personally. I don't see why you would have pitched to him, especially with Gurriel struggling the way he is. Morton makes 2 really good pitches to start off the at bat, but after that, he hangs one. Naylor doesn't miss, and the Orioles go down 4-2 at that point. Gave up 4 consecutive runs after starting the game up 2-0. And that's what's so frustrating is this offense looked fantastic in the first inning. It felt like, okay, we were having a second straight game where the Orioles offense was showing up. They didn't need the long ball. They were, just manufacturing runs to start the game out where you think just straight away in the first inning, Mullins gets a single to bring 2 in. Mullins just had a hell of a night. But after that, after the Orioles got up 2-0, immediately the Diamondbacks answer back with 1 in the first. It could have been a whole lot worse. We were lucky that Morton got out of the first inning, only giving up 1 run. But that was kind of the tale of the game for Charlie Morton was even though he went, going into the 5th, only 2 runs, every single inning, it felt like the Diamondbacks had guys on. They had men in scoring position. They were threatening in some way. They got at least somebody on, whether it was a hit, whether it was one of his 5 walks. Charlie Morton just simply couldn't keep guys off the base paths. They were always in trouble. Felt like the Diamondbacks were always a hit away from blowing the game open. Naylor ends up getting the 2-run double. That kind of did it. That was it. After that, the Orioles obviously they had their chances, but just overall, it was one of those games where just watching, I've talked about this before. It felt like they had a little bit more fight tonight. I will say that. I felt like the Orioles tonight had a little bit more of that. Hey, even though we're down going into the 7th, going into the 8th, they still had that little spark in them. You know, Adley gets the single, then Jorge steals second, steals third. But even then, they come up short. They come up short. I'm seeing some people asking about Brandon Young. It's his time's coming soon. If it's not now, I'm not sure how much longer he would wait because Brandon Young, they have to try him. He's probably, especially if Eflin, depending on how much time he misses, I doubt it's just going to be a week. It's probably going to be closer to a month when it's all said and done. But it really is going to be Brandon Young. It's going to be up to these young guys because you have Suarez now. He's on the bench. He's on the IL. You're going to get Eflin, looks like. Grayson, obviously. Bradish, Wells. We're back to last year where the Orioles have an incredible rotation on the IL. Orioles have a top-of-the-line starting rotation completely on the IL. They're going to need to just get things, and they're going to need to get better outings from Morton. I'm not going to call this outing horrible. I know people will not be happy with the outing. Overall, he was erratic and wild. He couldn't find the strike zone at times. But compared to what he had the first 2 outings, he's shown improvement. I've seen some people on Twitter and stuff talking about how the metrics look good and everything. I haven't looked into that. I don't know what his movement and everything is saying about how we pitched tonight. But overall, this was just a very tough reminder of the inconsistencies of the Baltimore Orioles, pretty much dating back to last July. Because as we sit here, it feels like every loss is the exact same. Even when the pitcher's able to, get out of situations, there's always guys on base. The Orioles have opportunities. They can't capitalize on it. What did the O's finish? Runners in scoring position. So 1 for 5 runners in scoring position. You need to do better than that. I also saw somebody up here talk about the bullpen. The bullpen is probably, besides Cionel Perez, the bullpen's is the one aspect of the Orioles game right now that you can be like, you guys are good. The bullpen is doing everything that you could ask them for. Like I said, besides Cionel and his blow-ups, bullpen has been out of their minds. Brian Baker, I understand people don't like him. I understand because of the past, people don't have full trust in him. Brian Baker is an absolute dog. And he has saved this team's ass on multiple occasions already this season. So Brian Baker's a guy that he's stepped up big time. Sir Anthony Dominguez hasn't always looked great, but he's gotten the job done, especially after a rough spring training. Gregory Soto as well. Keegan Aiken's building off a very strong second half last year. Felix Bautista looks like he's getting better every time. Yennier Cano's looking like the Yennier Cano we know and love. The bullpen is everything you could have asked it for. Bullpen's everything you could have asked it to be. You get Kittredge back. We'll make decisions, as we go down the line. But the bullpen right now, if there was one part of the Orioles team that you can kind of go, we'll worry about that another time. If we need to improve a little here and there in the bullpen, we'll worry about that another time. Because right now they got to figure something out in the starting rotation. Especially with Eflin down. Now you're going to go to Sagano, Dean Kramer, Cade Povich. you got to eventually. Gibby's going to be back, and then who am I missing? I guess Brandon Young joins the team now. Well, Morton obviously, but the starting rotation is. We went into this year talking about how they were going to make or break this team. And so far, they didn't have that clear ace, and it is hurting them. It is very much hurting them. They have not gotten, besides, unfortunately, Zach Eflin, they hadn't gotten consistency out of their starters. So when you're getting consistency only out of a singular guy, and then he goes on the shelf as well, now you're once again sitting here in the exact same problem. They've kind of, every fan, there's all them getting themselves into, in the fact that they're sitting here already. It's only April 9th, and it feels like the Baltimore Orioles have run out of starters. Because now with the Eflin news, you're sitting there and you're like, okay, what's next? So now is Sagano your number one? Is Dean your number one? Is Morton your number one? It's a very weird spot to be in already. But if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. This is Kevin and Zach React. Go live after every single Orioles game, win or lose. Joining me as well as the other half of Kevin and Zach React, Kevin Ostriker. Kevin, the season's over.
I mean, look, man, I'm on the IL too now because it took me a little longer to join. I was eating blackberries, and I bit my cheek like a week ago, and I keep biting my cheek in the exact same spot.
Once you do it once, it gets you every time for like a week.
It hurts more every time you do it, and I'm in pain, but the Orioles cause me more pain. So.
Yeah. Kevin, what a weird ass game.
I know. For both teams too, honestly.
Yeah.
Man, can we get I think our next adventure, or maybe our first adventure, should be Kevin and Zach go to umpiring school and attempt to umpire an MLB game.
And here's the funny part is, with the big one, with the Jackson Holly play, appreciate the umps for giving the Orioles that run. From what I understand, from what I'm seeing screenshots of the rule book and stuff, the umpire should have never given the Orioles that run. Actually, what should have happened, this is what I've just seen, that I've gotten tricked by, rule analysts on the internet before, so don't take this as gospel. And it makes sense. If you challenge, if they're saying, okay, the ball was not caught, and then they're saying, okay, we're challenging that it was caught. Once it's confirmed that it was caught, all runners, the play's dead. They're like, okay, we missed that. We didn't think it was caught, so it's caught. Everybody has to stay. So Seti would have gone back to second. O'Neill goes back to, or Say goes to third, O'Neill to second. It would have been a completely different. Now, that means the next guy you have to, I guess, Gunner up next with 2 outs, bases loaded. But I like that situation. So it's frustrating, Kevin. Before you got on, I was just saying it felt like they had a little bit more fight in them. They had a little bit more fight in them towards the end, but it's still just coming up short. Just also a weird game all around because Morton didn't look great, but he kept finding ways to get out of these situations. Just felt like a classic Orioles game where you just found yourself with inconsistency and just different times where you're like, oh, of course.
I mean, yeah, Morton with the 5 walks is never good. I mean,
no,
that to me, and he got through 5, which if you listen to the Ryan Ripken show / afternoon edition to Kevin Zach React today, you would have heard me say that, I would take 5 innings from Charlie Morton. How he got there was a little unorthodox, I guess, with all the walks. I wouldn't take that part of it. That's the part I do not like. But the bullpen, again, and I heard you talking about it right before I got on, another scoreless performance. I mean, obviously, Sir Anthony was a little dicey with the walks, but I'm trying not to be so live or die with every single game so early in the season. But when we still are early in the season, right?
Yeah, we're not even 10% into the season.
When do you consider early in this season? Like, when are we in the thick of it? Like, do you give 20 games, 30 games? Like, where's your threshold? Or like, is it a month, 2 months?
I was gonna say you gotta get through April. I consider maybe I'm give it a little bit more leeway. I consider March, April, that's early season. Once you get into May, June, and like that's like the thick of it, and then I see like August, September is like the playoff push.
Mm-hmm. I'm seeing in the chat 30, 50, 1 month. So all right, you know what? Let's just go in the middle of 30 and 50. Let's just go 40.
Yeah.
40 games. So I guess that would put you right at the end of April, I guess. So right
Yeah,
around
40
that
games,
anyway.
mid-May.
Yeah, a little bit past April. So, you still have time, but like you just hope. I think you start with you have to stay healthy, and they're not staying healthy. Like
no, they're not.
I just don't know what they do from here without Eflin, because I heard you talking about it where he's being shut down for a week, but that doesn't mean he's going to be back in a week.
Yeah, that means that he's out throwing for a week, and then they're going to figure out from there what's going on.
Right. So I guess they were optimistic in the part that it's not a season-ending injury, but the fact that he has to miss time, and you are now down your top 3 starters and your top 4 from last year all at the same time, plus the guy that you were expecting to come in and Kittredge and Tyler Wells, who could have been, whether you want to throw him in the rotation or in the long relief spot in the bullpen, he would have been your 2 long reliever options are now down, and I guess Bowman can be that guy for you, right? But I guess Albert Suarez and Wells.
The depth, the depth is we talked about last year, Kevin, and this year as well. It's like, the Orioles have so much depth in the rotation. They're built for 162. I was hoping we wouldn't have to tap into every single ounce of the depth by April 9th.
They're built for it when they're healthy. The issue is they were never healthy.
They're built for it if they only have to sustain 1 injury at a time, not when 3 guys. I
think you can sustain more than 1. I mean, even if Bradish and Wells, like, let's just say Bradish and Wells are the 2 injuries, and let's take Kittredge out. Let's just take Kittredge out. Even with everybody else in there, they still could have weathered that. It's not ideal. You want to have.
I'm not considering Wells and Brash in this. I'm talking they could afford.
Oh, I see. Okay,
another guy after that going down, and that they could sustain that. Now, when you've lost Grayson, Eflin, it really gets to the point where you're like, well, shit.
And they've already had other scares this year with like Sagano and.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, are we expecting Charlie Morton to hold up through? I think people are probably saying, well, would it be that bad if he had Nielsen at this point? But like, you never want anybody to get injured, right?
We also got Trevor Rogers.
You never want to see anybody go down, right? You never, ever want to see it. In my opinion, the Orioles right now, what do they do? Like, I guess you talked about Brandon Young. I think he has to be the guy.
He has to.
I don't know who else gets it.
Yes, and before we move too far on with the pitching and everything, this is also a great point because we've talked about this as well. Rather than the 7 losses this year, the Orioles have only scored 13 runs. Yeah. The offensive inconsistency is if pitching gives you 4 runs, you should be able, especially when you score 2 right out of the gate in the first, you should be able to. I guess, I'll consider they were competitive in it, but you should be able to put out a better effort and try to, honestly, the Orioles should have won this game with the opportunities they had. It is the offense as well. It's the pitching in a lot of ways has stepped up in ways that we weren't sure they would be able to. The offense was the thing that everyone was talking about. It's going to be what carries this team. It's, okay, can the pitching hold up and just give the offense a chance? 4 runs is giving the offense a chance, and the offense could do it. That's the base thing. Is 4 runs was very much giving this offense a chance. And Kevin, what did we say last night? We're like, just score 5 runs a game and we promise they're going to win a crap ton of games. If they score 5 today, they win. But instead, they always do this. We'll score 10, then score 2.
Yep. It's been the story for their past almost calendar year. I guess a little less than calendar year at this point. But right now you have an offense. And again, I guess I'll repeat what I've said before. And I know it gets tiring for me repeating it, but here we are. The Orioles have too much talent, even with Colton Cowser out, to not score more than, 4 runs a game. Right, 5 is that sweet spot, and I'm not expecting them to score more than 5 every game. There are going to be games when they score no runs. There are going to be games when they score 1 run. That is natural. Yeah. I'm not coming out here and saying, wow, the Orioles have so much talent. If there's one singular game where they score below 4 runs, they're terrible, they're awful, they're horrible. That's not what I'm saying. But more often than not, or maybe not that, but we've seen it too much where they will have that offensive explosion and then they will come right back down to earth. And it's not like they were horrendous tonight. I mean, what was their run? Do you have the runners in scoring position number?
1 for 5.
That part was, you don't like that. At least it wasn't like 1 for 10, which we've seen before. But, you want Gunnar to find more of a groove. Obviously, it's still going to take some time for him to be able to get back and make up time there. But, it's untimely hits, and like you can put bad luck into the equation all you want to, but we've been talking about this for too long to just say, oh yeah, they've had a lot of hard outs this year. They've had a lot of robbed hits. Like, I'm not saying that there's not that factor of it and that they're not hitting the ball hard and putting it in play hard, but it's gotten to a point where when you have all this talent on the offensive side of the ball and even when you're down one of your most important pieces in Colton Cowser, it's something that AJ said last night, something we've said for months now, dating back to last year. It's the strength of this Orioles lineup is not that they just have a top-heavy group or 3 superstars and that's it. It's that 1 through 9 can hit, 1 through 9 can get you through, and that when sometimes one of your guys isn't producing, there are 8 other guys in that lineup every night who can carry the load. Because you're not expecting Gunnar to go 3 for 4 every game. You're not expecting Tyler O'Neill to hit 2 jacks every game. Sometimes there are going to be slumps. Sometimes there are going to be struggles. Every player goes through it. But the strength of this offense, or at least what should be the strength of this offense, is the fact that you have 1 through 9, and depending on whatever lineup Hyde throws out, which again, there's another conversation, usually you have enough in that lineup to where a guy, even if he's hitting 9th, can pick you up. Like if Setty's hitting 9th, if Jackson's hitting 9th, that's a embarrassment of riches that you have on the offensive side of the ball. And I think that it's frustrating because, look, we're not talking about a group that is a middling offense or that's projected to be like the 20th ranked offense in the MLB. If that was the case, yeah, these results would be a lot more explainable and understandable. But the fact that you're projected to be top 5, top 3, top 2, whatever offense in the league, that's where this inconsistency continues to be concerning, and I know for a lot of people continues to be frustrating.
Yeah, it's frustrating because not only is that, Kevin, it's every other game you see the potential. It would almost be one of those things where if they went out there and just put stinker on top of stinker on top of stinker on top of stinker, we could maybe come to the conclusion that maybe this offense isn't what we thought it was. The unfortunate thing and the most frustrating thing is that every other freaking game, they show you exactly why you have faith in this offense, because they'll go out there and score 12 runs like it's nothing. They'll go manufacture 6 runs out of nowhere. They'll use the long ball to their advantage. They'll jump on pitchers. They'll be selective and work the counts. And then you get a game where all of a sudden the very next day, it feels like we're looking at a completely different team. That's what's most frustrating about it. It's why the biggest word we bring up constantly is consistency, is because it's not about that the potential would be one thing if the potential was just not there, like it just never showed its head. It's every other day it feels like we see what this lineup is capable of. Like you see when 1 through 9 are working, you've seen what happens, and you see it, it's every other day. So it's like if you could just, instead of once every 2 days, to a 2 every 3, it turns everything. It changes everything.
Yeah, it's frustrating, and it again just feels like that button where I know Morton wasn't great tonight. I mean, again, the run damage was limited, but you hate to see the walks. Just feels like it's 2 out of 3 come to life for the Orioles every night, and 1 of the 3 does not between offense, starting pitching, and bullpen. And the one that doesn't come to life is the one that usually either derails the game or makes it a lot closer than it's supposed to be. And I said it on the show today, if you tuned in to the Ryan Ripken show, where Zach, you asked the question and we were talking about, who's the Orioles' biggest competitor in the AL East. And well, obviously everybody goes for the Red Sox at this point. Feels like that's the popular answer. I said that the Orioles' biggest opponent is themselves, with some of these mistakes and how they've approached these early games, whether that is, you want to put blame on Brandon Hyde, want to put blame on the offense, starting pitching, Perez in the bullpen, whatever it is, the Orioles sometimes put themselves behind the 8 ball when it comes to some of these games. So, it's difficult. And especially I think that the turning point, or maybe not a turning point, but the point in the game to me, crazy game where you're like, okay, is obviously Mateo steals second, he steals third, and then Mountie hits the ball and Mateo's going. He's a boom, all right, I'm going. He's caught in the rundown, and I think that kind of sealed the deal for me of like, all right, there's always that moment of the game where you can tell. And that to me was the moment. There were a couple, but that to me was the moment.
Yeah, that was when it was just like there was just no chance. I don't want to say I'd given up, but kind of like you said, it felt very much like that was the opportunity. Jorge on third, less than 2 outs, just get him in, find a way in, then go fighting extras, whatever it is. Once he got out, and then you can do the whole, oh well, Mountie got to second, like we're still in play with runners to score. It changed the opportunity completely at that point. It no longer was, okay, you got the guy on third, tying run on third, less than 2 outs. Now you're sitting there and you're like, okay, we got Mountie on second. Now we need a hit. Before you didn't need a hit. Now, once again, you had to rely on this team that's been inconsistent with runners in scoring position to come through with runners in scoring position, and they didn't. So that's what's been so frustrating. And even worse is the next guy up is Jordan Westberg, who 10 times out of 10 is the guy that I'd want up there. He doesn't get it done. Like, that's baseball. I'm not going to be like, oh, Westberg has been failing because he's had like 2 or 3 rough days in a row. He's the last guy I will ever worry about. Probably the only guy ahead of him is Gunnar. And real fast, if you want to put the call-in link in the chat we can do that. I have to shout out Jackson Holliday's defense because he's been playing an incredible defense.
He is turning into an all-around stud. All-around stud.
Playing Gold Glove-esque defense, which is just a complete 180 compared to when he first came up. God, remember how that was a tough one. Those were tough ones. There was some the routine. Oh my gosh, the routine pop-ups that were falling. The body. Jackson Holliday is turning into a very nice player.
Yeah,
and it's been awesome.
I'm encouraged by Jackson. I mean, he's someone that's going to be such a good ball player for so long. Like you can just see the writing on the wall there, and it's so fun to see him continue to evolve his game. I mean, I can't wait to see him in an Orioles uniform, hopefully for a very, very long time. So let me get this call-in link. It will be in the post. For those that don't know, there will be a post in the posts area.
Post in the post area.
Post in the post in the post in the posts. Posting it now.
Yeah, Kevin, 1 a.m. I feel like
I know. This is when we were ending last night. I know.
Well, I'm also just saying, like, it's like weird game, but also it's just like that West Coast baseball where you just feel like weird stuff happens.
I know. And this isn't even a 10:10 start or a 10:05 start.
Yeah, we were. So then tomorrow's 3. Yeah, this was 9:40, and then tomorrow's.
I know. Yeah, tomorrow's gonna be a weird, 3:40 start time or whatever it is. Like,
yeah, we're gonna have to figure out.
Yeah. So, call-ins are live on the members post tabs. Just go to post. If you're a member, you will see it. Let's go to our first caller. He is down under. You know him as AJ. We know him as AJ. We're going to bring him on. That was a pretty bad intro, AJ, but how you doing?
I was like, do you guys know me as something else? Like,
I was like, where are you going with this?
what's going on? But the fuck was that? What did I just spend my uni lecture instead of listening to my teacher? What did I just spend my time doing? That was
the umpires trying to figure out a rule book, trying to figure out.
As soon as they showed it was Laz Diaz's crew, I was like, oh, that explains yesterday. And it explained everything today. I think people forget because like Angel Hernandez was the big ticket item when you're talking about bad umps, but there's plenty of good umps. There are some shocking ones, and one of them is Laz Diaz. And it's bad when we get a call that hugely benefits us, that Tyler O'Neill check swing that he did not check. Though admittedly, earlier in the count, a pretty bad pitch was called a strike. So that evened out more than Arizona felt like it did. But it's bad when our announcing crew, who got the advantage of the call, who have a bias, are calling Laz Diaz a clown. Like they were because he went out and going to eject this. Oh, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, Ben McDonald was losing his mind. He just kept going. He was like, all Laz Diaz has to do is turn around and just continue it, go on. There are certain umpires who genuinely feel like the baseball game is about them.
They make it about themselves.
Steve Buckner is atrocious.
You can go down the list, honestly, if you wanted to.
No, but the John Boy on today's game is going to be incredible. But
I just want to that whole seventh inning with that was an absolute. There was like 15 minutes in between pitches or whatever. It ended up being like 12 minutes. It just all around for a play that honestly should have never even happened. Like he blatantly caught the ball. Third base umpire just has to signal he caught the ball, and all of this is avoided. Whether O'Neill gets thrown out at second or not, that happens. But all confusion's avoided. Instead,
you want to talk if he puts that up? Tyler O'Neill goes and tags up, and then what I think got lost in the chaos was what in the name of God was that throw?
That is
the worst throw I've seen from an outfielder in a long time.
That was
he didn't even look. He just fired that thing off, hoping it hit somewhere.
That was like the internal clock. Like something was wrong, and he in his head somewhere was just like, "I'm going to throw it over."
He was like
he wasn't throwing it home. He knew the general direction home plate was in, and he just like got up and was like, "I know it's."
Hey,
it's
Moreno's down there somewhere.
Literally.
See where it goes.
It went it literally hit the top of the. I was like, "This is."
And then, so if he does that, Tyler O'Neill tags up. But we also got to talk about Tyler O'Neill's baseball IQ has not looked fantastic.
Yeah,
throwing to the wrong bases. Even in that instance, if you have a question on whether or not it's caught and you're at second base, tag because he's throwing home. He clearly threw home. Go tag in advance.
He was like 2/3 of the way down the base path before the ball was
also Gary Sanchez never tagged either. So
there was at that point
is a smart baseball player, and he just has. I think
everyone just kind of let Gary do whatever Gary was doing. They were
the
just
coaching
like,
was tough. I have no idea why you pitched a Naylor there over a 153 hitter. I get he's a 153 hitter with pop, but he's a 153 hitter. Like
I don't get pitching
you kind of just go, well, damn it. But that was a terrible decision. And Charlie Morton is so perplexing to me because he will look so good for the first 3 pitches of an at-bat and then just lose it. He will have everybody in 0-2, 1-2 counts, and then it'll be a 3-2 count or a hit by pitch or a meatball to Naylor. He was lucky Naylor didn't hit that out of the park.
Yeah.
It was great.
And then that's the unfortunate part. Like you said, the first, I brought up earlier, the first two pitches to Naylor were disgusting. And it made you sit there and you're like, oh, okay, he's going to attack him. And I was like, don't pitch to Naylor. Through that first pitch in the dirt, Naylor went all or nothing, swing misses. And then he throws, get me over curveball. Next pitch, just plucks it in there. And you're like, oh, okay. He's got confidence in here. We're going to, let's go get out of this thing. And then he just hangs one. And that's kind of, even with the Corbin Carroll home run, it was not the best at bat, but it was one of those things where he had battled in, got him back to 2 strikes. You're a pitch away from getting out of it. And he, I saw arguing on Twitter on whether or not that was a good pitch or not, but I still think if you're hanging a curveball in the zone, I don't care that he bats I think it's like 187 off curveballs and, bottom right part of the
curveball. He bats 187 with curveballs.
Yeah, like if he makes contact with it, it's gonna go a long way. Can we
talk about how many misses directly in the middle of the zone the Orioles had today? I mean, there were a good 5 pitches. It feels like every time one of our starters makes a miss and they miss in the middle of the zone, it gets punished, and as it should be, especially with the breaking ball guy.
First pitch of Mounties at bat that Jorge ended up stealing all the way to third on. He missed center fastball that he was.
And oh my goodness, the swing he put on it, if he had made contact, that was absolutely torched. Jorge Mateo, and I feel so bad because it's not going to end up being his fault, at all. But way to, reintroduce yourself to the Oriole crowd and get some sympathy and just immediately lose it. Instantly. Which is not a conversation about Tony Mansolino, because he is good for some just boneheaded decisions every year. I still remember the Detroit game last year where he didn't send Jackson Holiday and we ended up losing an extra.
But two games ago, they didn't send Adley Rutschman on the or no, wait, hell, was that last night? That was last night. God, I'm getting my days mixed up. But last night we saw it. Adley should have walked into home and they hold him up, and then we end up not getting the runs in. Anyway,
ridiculous. Just absolutely ridiculous. You can blame the umpires because we lost by 1 run that, with everything that happened in the field, we very realistically could have had. That was brutal. But Tyler O'Neill has not looked like an intelligent baseball player. And he's looked rough at the plate the last couple days. Just hacking at pitches that aren't even close. And he's been hard to watch. I can deal with physical errors. I can deal with a ball getting dropped, but stuff like throwing to the wrong base or not tagging up, stuff like that is just brutal.
Yeah. And that's what I'm talking about. I mean, the Orioles' biggest enemy is themselves at the time, a lot of the time, where those are errors that you can pretty easily eliminate. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm having PTSD. Just
sick of it.
Baltimore sports.
We even had Gunnar today have another error. I mean, that should have been picked by O'Hearn.
Should have been picked. If that's not possible, it's
that's a whole different story. But it's the same frustrating. Whoever you want to put the blame on for that, it's an out. It didn't end up biting them, but it's an out that they need to have. Instead of starting off the inning, quick 1 out, you get the ground ball, and now it's okay. Never mind, he's on first base.
Just tough. At least Jackson Holiday. Stud. World-renowned defensive ace, Jackson Holiday.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been looking great. That back pick was pretty incredible.
That was beautiful.
And what a
tag, too.
Messed that up. Come on, man.
That was the most blatant one of the night, where it was just literally hit his foot, literally a foot before, he had a whole step and a half tagged and before he hit the base.
I mean, but we got the call right in the end, so I don't care too much about that. But, I mean, rough day from the offense. I think I saw someone say something in chat. I can't remember who it was. But trust me, I love a good opposite field approach. I love being able to drive the ball the other way when it's pitched away. But we are struggling to do damage and pull the middle in of the ball and get it in the air. It's hard to hit with power going the other way. That's why it's good as a 2-strike approach, as a stay alive and get a base hit with runners in scoring position approach. But there are times, the Orioles know we didn't want them to stop hitting home runs, right? We wanted them to stop only hitting home runs.
Yeah.
They can't find the balance. They can't do it. It's either they're all home runs or no home runs.
But they're not.
Only
They're
know
not
two
doing
things.
damage on pitches they should do damage on the middle heater, on the hanging breaking ball. They're taking it a lot of the time, which is hard to watch.
Well, and that gives opposing pitchers like the go ahead, like, oh, they're not going to hit this. I'm just going to groove it in there because they're not going to hit it anyway. So I might as well not think about it. Like, they're not going to hit it. So why not? Like, let's just do it. And,
like, there's guys you want to have an opposite field approach. A guy like Adley, and I mean, he had a one ripped the other way today. Like, he looked when Jorge then got pinched for him.
Yeah.
Which, first of all, as much as I'm mad at the management, thank you for finally using Jorge Mateo the exact way he's meant to be used. Pinch him for your slow ass DH and get him going around the bases.
Yep.
Now, the ground ball straight back to the pitcher, because Mountcastle can't decide if he wants to have the greatest looking ABs I've ever seen or the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just got to get
Not
one
a lot
time,
of
just hit it in the air.
There's not a lot of in between with this team. It's either all or nothing for a lot of them.
I mean, Jorge Mateo, you could get a sac fly popping it up to the shortstop. He's
you
that
could
fast.
literally you just had to get
just a little bit out of the infield.
Probably,
the infield
10
grass.
feet.
Like,
if the infielder is, even if it's to the infielder, if he's catching
one of
it and
those
he's
shortstop
going
leaning
backwards, if he's going backwards at all, Jorge scores.
in that point, you make the guy make a pressure throw, and more likely than not,
which
probably
clearly,
and we saw what Gurriel was doing
literally.
pressure throws. I mean, they don't have a great track record over there.
that was
trying to throw it to the club seats. He just knew home plate was somewhere ahead of him.
Weird game. Ben summed it up perfectly that if they closed the roof on that, then there'd be a tent for the circus. Like, it was so strange to watch. Just all around between ejection. Brandon Hyde needed to get more fired up about it. I know he didn't necessarily have recourse about it. I think the challenge was less about let's challenge anything that happened and more of let's outsource this call to anyone but Laz Diaz.
They wanted New York to talk about it. And I don't think New York was like, Jesus Christ.
Like, what do you do? Like, what do you do when there's no out call, but just tough.
Yeah.
But can't win. Yeah. The O's ain't fine. They have the potential to be, but they just ain't.
Hopefully they can win a series, and then we can go from there. Baby steps, hopefully.
Baby steps. Go win the series tomorrow.
Win the series tomorrow. AJ, appreciate you as always. It's late night here, finally, for you. You get the normal schedule, but again, back tomorrow will be, I was going to say, 3:40. It's back to we get the normal time. Hopefully we're talking tomorrow. Hopefully we're talking tomorrow after a win.
Yeah,
please.
All right.
Yeah. Awesome. AJ, appreciate you as always, man. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Peace
out. And then I guess looks like I expected a few callers.
Yeah, it's 1:20 in the morning.
Yeah, let's bring him on. Arkansas Joe.
Look at Joe.
I still
supporting
have hope.
Me.
I still have hope.
I love it, Joe. Joe, I'm glad you made it.
We need some optimism in these dark times, aka 1-game losing streak.
I got a mess to go clean up because my washing machine hose decided to blow in the middle of the night, but that's okay. Think about it this way, fellas. The first half last year was great. The second half sucked. So if we can just reverse that, we're going to be fine.
And honestly, I'd take that. I would rather have the bad first half. And
the World Series is still on. We're good.
I can't wait for the 15-game win streak. I'm so here for it. I'm so ready. Food challenges are going to be crazy when we get that 15-game win streak.
And half the fan base is not invited to the parade anymore. They've already jumped off the bridge. And
this fan base is on 9 different. Has jumped off 9 different bridges. It's this ridiculous.
In fairness, there's no leadership right now. There's just no leadership.
Yeah, who do you look at as the leaders, I guess, right now? I mean, there's not.
It's not Brandon Hyde, and there's no consistent roles on this team. Everybody's changing positions.
Yeah.
And the bullpen's doing all right, but they still don't have roles except for Felix. So.
And even Felix, they're going to pitch him sometimes when he's healthy.
Yeah, we got to find some consistency, as they say, right?
But. Yeah. It all starts with the head man, and I do think that we said it on the show today. It's like he was great for the rebuild, great for that period of time. Is he the right guy to lead this team now? Those are questions we're going to have answers to or get answers to over the next couple of months this season, and then we'll figure it out. But you want to see fight, and I think again, this wasn't the worst game in the world tonight. Like again, we've seen worse Orioles games than this, right? We've seen a lot worse, but even still, it just feels like you have it, and then you don't. Then there's a weird play, and then you lose momentum, and then you feel like they're getting it back, and then something else happens, and that's just a story we've seen too much. Like it's deflating at this point. So
yep.
Just win a series. That's all I'm asking.
Just get him tomorrow.
Get him tomorrow. That's all we can do. Long season.
That's all we can do.
I want baby steps. We can get the series win, one. And then hopefully a sweep. So
you know what? I like it.
Ramen stops rotting in my.
Yeah, Kevin, you got to eat that eventually.
I might never at this point. I've locked in what it's for, and they can't do it. I've been waiting to do it for like 4 months of the season.
One day, Kevin. One day, and it's going to be glorious.
Well, I'll have to hype it up. Like, I've been waiting. Man.
Awesome. Joe, you got anything else, or is it one? I guess it's only 12:23 there. So,
It is, but 5:30 comes early, so,
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
And I've got this mess to clean up, so God only knows when I'll actually get to sleep.
Man. Joe, try to get some. From me, that's rich, but try to get some.
I was going to say, try to get some sleep, Joe. Appreciate you as always, my guy, and I'm sure we'll talk tomorrow.
Boom.
What a weird night, Kevin.
Yeah, it's a late night. It's a late night, but you know what? I will feel a lot better if they win tomorrow. If they lose tomorrow and we continue this streak of not winning series, and we're
they're going for their first series win tomorrow.
I know, which is kind of sad to say that we're just hoping for a series win at this point with a team that's supposed to be more competitive than they've looked so far.
World Series contender, I'll say it. World Series contender.
But you know what? Still got what? It's 150 games to go at this point. We're at the 150 mark.
150 to go.
It doesn't even feel like that many games have happened, but it feels like a lot more games have happened at the same time.
Baseball is one of those things where in 4 games we're 10% of the way done.
Is that true?
Yeah. Because we're 16, it'd be 16 games in. I'm 100.
Yeah.
Which does not feel, but it's,
it's not yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it's crazy.
That's why, yeah. Because if you split it up in 10%, the season will be over before you know it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the season goes for as many games as we play. 162 is very daunting. It goes by
big number,
so fast.
Yeah.
Goes by so fast. Soon we're gonna be sitting here. We're 5-7 right now. Before we know it, we're gonna be talking about the Orioles, and it'll be like they're 41-37. And you're like, we've played how many games already?
Yeah, 41-37. I wouldn't be super thrilled about, by the way. But
Kevin, we're 2 games below 500. I would take 41-37 at this point.
Hey man, I got high expectations.
So, I do too. Let's go 40-20. Let's go.
See, that's the rule in basketball, actually, for the NBA.
Yeah, you have to win
games. You have to be a true contender. You have to win 40 games before you lose 20.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I still can't believe you just said, Kevin, we have 13 minutes before our next caller. Just talk about the Nuggets, and I used every single second of that 13 minutes talking about the Nuggets.
I was sitting there, and I was like, we've talked so much Orioles. We've talked AL East. We've talked. I was like, man, I was like, Kevin.
Hey, I'm good for it. If you want me to talk,
I felt like I was tossing the dog a bone. Where I was just like, Kevin,
man, you knew I wanted to talk about it. Raymond asking, how do you become a member? Here's the link. I put it in the chat. If you want to become a member there, I think that'll take you to the membership page. It gets kind of weird on the phone. I think it's really only the computer that you can do it on.
Sometimes.
The phone gets wonky with the notification or the button to be a member. And Maddox, how to call in is you got to be a member to do it. It's one of our new features this year for memberships. So if you want to become a member, I put the link in there, and then
just a way for us
to
have
the link,
vet out some of the trolls, and just so we don't have to deal with that. But yeah, Kevin, I think you got anything else?
That's all I got. That's all I got. Win the series. Just win the series tomorrow. If they win the series tomorrow, it will be better. It'll be better.
I love it. I love it. Just win. Just win, baby, win. That'll do it for this edition of Kevin and Zach React. The Baltimore Orioles lose 4-3 in Game 2 against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Back tomorrow at 3:40 Eastern Time against the D-backs to see who can win the series. Win the series, come back to Baltimore. Let's take it from there. We'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of Kevin and Zach React. We'll see. It's 1:27 in the morning, Kevin. I'm a little bit.
You couldn't play the music on the show today.
Luke Scott. Oh my gosh!
And Pocket Watch on the way out. Pocket Watch on the way out.
Buzzer beater. Holy crap! Pocket Watch. Appreciate everyone. Luke Scott.
That was mine. George Sherrill.
Oh, I like that.
Absolutely.